And as the country awaits the ruling on Roe v. Wade, the Supreme Court's approval rating has reached its lowest level in decades. According to Marquette University, only 44% of people approve of the way the Supreme Court is currently handling its job. Joining us now to help answer how the court can restore its standing with the American people, former legal advisor to President Trump, Mae Davis. I appreciate your time tonight. Let's start with Roe v. Wade real quick before we get into the trust in the court. Because this is such a landmark decision, do you expect the court to handle the way that is relayed to the public any different than they would normal decisions?
Well, I think the security is definitely one thing. In a normal case, you have the justices just kind of sitting there announcing their decision. Sometimes if somebody is very upset, which this case would seem to qualify, regardless of which side wins, someone will kind of read their dissent from the bench. That's something that's pretty common with very emotional, very high profile cases. But I think with this case, you've got security overwhelming everything, which is, and not a great statement of where we are in society, but that's the way it is. And, I think the public is still really waiting to see what's going to be different about the way that they announce this. We've never had a leak before. We have no idea what to expect.
Right. So let's go back to that number. 44% approve of the way the Supreme Court is handling its job. It's better than the president's approval rating right now, but it's not saying much. The leak of the draft opinion probably didn't help much in terms of building the public's confidence in the court.
Right. I would say that, it's very important, as I think you and I both know, that the American public trust the judiciary, because that's really, that is the rule of law in our country. If we don't believe that there is a fair justice system, fair rule of law, then there are no laws, there are no rules, there really is no society. So that number is way more important than whether people like or dislike the president. This is a very consequential feeling that the American public have. Unfortunately, I think that this has been sort of a long time coming. And part of it is the Supreme Court's own doing. They are the ones who took abortion as their issue in the first place. The reason that we're here is because the Supreme Court decided that they were going to take over the abortion issue rather than let it percolate in the states. I think also some of these really aggressive Supreme Court confirmation fights that some of them go back decades. There are some conservative icons who are minorities who are blocked from even sitting on the bench because people like Joe Biden said that they would not support them. So we've had the political process really inject a lot of partisan anger into the Supreme Court. So it's not surprising that you see where we are today. I think last year, even Chuck Schumer saying that the Supreme Court really needs to rule the way that he wants them to, or else. So unfortunately, it's a very negative development in our society, but it's not surprising.
No, the fact of the matter is it's been ugly. It's been divisive. It's hard to watch. As a viewer, I can't imagine what it's like in those hearings when they're confirming the justices. So I'm glad you brought that up. But I do want to play a clip here because it's not all hate, right? It's not all divisiveness. They actually get along. So the justices maybe have more in common than meets the eye. I want to listen to Justice Sotomayor, talking about Justice Thomas.
Justice Thomas is the one justice in the building that literally knows every employee's name, every one of them. He is a man who cares deeply about the court as an institution, about the people who work there, but about people.
So let me get this straight. Even if they don't agree, they can still like each other and be friends. What a concept.
What a concept. And it seems like we really all agreed with that, what feels like 5-10 years ago. And it's only been recently that, your speech is violence, your silence is violence. And, therefore you can't be friends with somebody who's violent, of course. And if their speech is violence, then what are you going to do? So I think this was very responsible from Justice Sotomayor. I'm glad she did it. It makes me think so highly of her that she would go out of her way to try and rebuild trust, because the group that she was talking to was not a group of conservatives. This was the American Constitution Society. These are very committed, progressive, liberal organization that believes basically the opposite of Justice Thomas on every legal issue. And for her to go in and say positive words and really say we should think about people as humans, because we are humans, and we all care about this country. Very good thing for her to do.
Right. And just because we may disagree, ultimately we are on the same team and we live in the same country and we need to stand together. We could tear a page from that, enjoying and appreciating those around you and finding the commonalities. Mae Davis, always good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.